Good afternoon and welcome. I am Ofonono Joseph coming to you live from Oyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. This is Spotlight Africa, brought to you by Spectrum Television. Today on Spotlight Africa, Madagascar president dissolves government amid deadly protest. Presidential campaign kicks off in Cameroon as opposition hopes to defeat Paul Biya. Gabon awaits results of first legislative and local elections since 2023 coup. Guinea's first presidential election after coup set for December 28. Plus, trial of former Malian Prime Minister Moussa gets underway. These stories are all just ahead on Spotlight Africa. Good afternoon and thank you so much for joining us on Spotlight Africa. First on Spotlight Africa, President Andry Rajoelina dissolved his government on Monday in response to escalating youth-led protest over severe water and electricity shortages. A crisis the United Nations reports has left at least 22 people dead and over 100 injured in the most significant challenge to his authority in years. The protests, now in their third day, were ignited by widespread anger over rolling blackouts and water shortages that can last for over 12 hours. The demonstrations have grown into the largest the Indian Ocean island has seen in years, inspired by successful Gen Z movement in Kenya and Nepal. In a televised address, a conciliatory President Rajoelina stated that he comprehends the anger, the sorrow, and the challenges, but said he has heard the call and felt the pain. He apologized if officials had failed their duties and promised support for businesses affected by looting. Meanwhile, the UN Human Rights Office confirmed that casualties resulted from security forces' actions as well as widespread violence and looting by unrelated gangs. However, Madagascar's foreign ministry rejected the UN's figures, dismissing them as based on rumors or misinformation. On Monday, police used tear gas to disperse protesters and had gathered at a university and attempted to march toward the city center following the imposition of a dusk-to-dawn curfew last week. In another development, Cameroon's presidential campaign has officially kicked off with initially 12 candidates in the running ahead of the election on 12th October. Reports say the vote could extend or end Paul Biya's 43 years in power. Among those who hope to defeat the long-serving president is his former ally, Bello Maigari. The ex-tourism minister launched his campaign with a rally in Douala. This comes as calls are being made from all sides for a coalition between him and the other strong contender in the presidential election. Away from that, Gabon is awaiting election results today that could prove crucial for the leadership of General Brice Clotaire Nguema. More than 900,000 Gabonese were called to the polls on Saturday in the country's first legislative and local elections since a 2023 military coup toppled the Bongo dynasty. Voters were asked to elect 145 parliament members as well as local councillors who will in turn directly elect senators, mayors and presidents of regional assemblies. Elsewhere, Guinea is set to hold its first presidential election on December 28 since the 2021 military coup, following a decree broadcast on state television. The announcement met after the Supreme Court validated a new constitution, appears to clear a path for coup leader Mamadi Doumbouya to transition from junta chief to elected president. The upcoming vote marks a pivotal movement in the country's political transition. The key change enabling this is the newly approved constitution, which replaces the transitional charter that had barred junta members from running for office. This move effectively removes the legal obstacle preventing General Dramboye from becoming a candidate, though he has not yet publicly declared his intentions. The new charter also introduces significant institutional reforms, notably extending presidential terms from 5 to 7 years, renewable once. Meanwhile, Seychelles is set to hold a rerun of its presidential elections between the two main contenders after no outright winner was announced. Opposition leader Patrick Hemini received 48.8% of the vote against the incumbent president Wavel Ramkawan, who garnered 46.4%, the Electoral Commission announced. According to the electoral rules, a candidate must obtain more than 50% of the vote to be declared the winner, and a runoff election has subsequently been scheduled for next week. Seychelles is Africa's smallest country, a 115-island archipelago in the Indian Ocean with a population of just over 120,000. There were 8 presidential hopefuls in last week's election. Ramkalawan is seeking a second term with his Leon Democratic Seselwa LDS party campaigning on economic recovery, social development and environmental sustainability. His main challenger, Hemini, is from the United Seychelles Party, which dominated the country's political landscape from 1977 until 2020, when it lost its majority to Ramkalawan's party. United Seychelles has regained control of the National Assembly, taking 19 out of 35 seats in the parliamentary elections held alongside the presidential vote. Moving now to South Sudan, where a special court has ruled that it does not have the jurisdiction to prosecute suspended Vice President Riek Machar and 7 co-accused who are charged with murder, treason and crimes against humanity. The court dismissed all objections by Machar's legal team regarding its authority, the constitutionality of the proceedings, and the claim that he was immune from prosecution. The case will continue on Wednesday. Machar has dismissed the charges brought against him 2 weeks ago as a political witch hunt. They have raised fears of return to civil war. The charges stem from an attack in March by a militia allegedly linked to Machar, which killed 250 soldiers and a general. Since then, he has been under house arrest. Machar's defense team had argued that the alleged crimes should not be tried by a national court, but by a hybrid court under the African Union, in accordance with the 2018 peace agreement that ended the 5-year civil war between his forces and those loyal to President Salva Kiir. Presiding Judge James Alala, however, said that the special court did have the authority to try national offenses, as a hybrid court had not yet been established. Elsewhere, the trial of former Malian Prime Minister Moussa got underway at the cybercrime court in the capital, Bamako, on Monday. He has been charged with undermining the credibility of the state, opposing legitimate authority, and inciting public disorder. This follows comments Mara made in July on social media after visiting detained opposition figures in jail. In a post on X, he expressed solidarity with the men, describing them as prisoners of conscience. Mara served as Prime Minister for 9 months, a decade ago, and has recently become an outspoken critic of the military government. The junta led by General Assimi Goïta came to power following 2 coups in 2020 and 2021. He was named transitional president in 2021, promising elections the following year, but in May this year dissolved all political parties following rare anti-government protests in July. Goïta approved a law granting himself a 5-year presidential mandate, renewable as many times as necessary without election. Meanwhile, an international court of arbitration has temporarily blocked the sale of uranium stockpiles over a dispute between the Niger government and French mining group Orano. The court in Washington, D.C. on Friday ordered Niamey to halt the sale of the uranium, which Orano claims has been stolen from it. The court also ordered the release of Orano's representative, who has been held in custody since May. In December last year, Niger's military junta took control of Orano's operation as part of a wider push to regulate the mining of raw materials by foreign entities. Orano's license was suspended months later, and the company suspended production. Since coming to power in 2023, Niger's military rulers, who Paris refuses to recognize, have expelled French troops and forced closer ties with Russia and Turkey. Orano claims that more than 1,000 tons of uranium concentrate, worth more than $200 million, have not been exported. If Niamey violates Friday's court ruling, Orano would be entitled to seize assets or royalties owed to Niger abroad. The court may not issue its final decision for months or even years. Zambian farmers sue Chinese mining company over toxic spill. Stay tuned for details of these and more after this timeout. Good to have you back. This is still Spotlight Africa on Spectrum Television. Now we continue the rest of our news stories. Moving now to Zambia, where dozens of farmers have filed a lawsuit against Chinese company Sinometal's Lich SML, alleging that a massive toxic spill from its mining waste dam has contaminated their land and water, posing severe health risk and demanding millions in compensation. The lawsuit follows a February disaster near Kitwe in Zambia's Copper Belt, where a dam burst released tens of millions of liters of mining waste. According to the cleanup company Drizet, hired by Zambia's environmental agency, the actual spill volume is 20 times greater than SML's initial estimates. The waste contained dangerous levels of cyanide, arsenic, copper, and cadmium, substances the World Health Organization links to cancer and birth defects. Away from that, the African Creators Conference 2025 brought together visionary thinkers, entrepreneurs, artists, and innovators from diverse fields, a platform dedicated to fostering innovation and celebrating the exceptional talents of creators across the African continent. The event showcased Africa's rich creative heritage and cutting-edge innovations to international stakeholders. Convener of the event, Godwin Omodiale, said he felt many creators are marginalized. They have talents and skills but lack platform to promote the skills and talents, and also meet with investors and policymakers to help them leverage the industry. The conference is focused on digital skills and AI integration, such as skills training, curriculum review, training of trainers, thereby improving employment prospects in Africa. Experts at the event reiterated that Africa must not just be consumers of the digital economy, but also creators as well. Elsewhere at Shona Ipzi, a garment factory in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, the tension is inescapable. The industrious thrum of the heavy-duty sewing machines, along with the workers' chatter, normally fills the plant with a reassuring rhythm. But today, every sound is tinged with uncertainty, as the future of the firm is unclear because of the possible end of a key piece of U.S. trade law. The African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, embedded in legislation a landmark trade agreement that has for 25 years given some African goods duty-free access to the U.S. market, expires today. However, this policy is at odds with the Trump administration's record of imposing tariffs. Meanwhile, envoys from various African countries have gone to the U.S. to try to negotiate an extension. Lastly, on Spotlight Africa, Slovenian cyclist Tadej Pogačar secured his second World Road Race crown in Kigali on Sunday, September 28, closing what he described as a perfect season. The week-long global cycling event hosted on African soil for the first time saw Pogačar defend his title, conquering the 267.5-kilometer course in 6 hours, 21 minutes and 20 seconds. Already the 2024 world champion in Zurich, Pogačar has now made history as the first rider ever to win both the Tour de France and the World Road Race title in consecutive years, reinforcing his status among the sport's all-time greats. Belgium's Remco Evenepoel, who had beaten Pogačar earlier the time trial on September 21, finished runner-up by 1 minute and 26 seconds. Ireland's been highly surged past Denmark's Mathias Schlemose as second runner-up, completing the podium. This has been Spotlight Africa, brought to you by Spectrum Television. Do ensure to follow us on all our social media handles and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.nj. My name is Ofonono Joseph. To enjoy the rest of your day.